I like it that you told them you have to come. Executives have their privileges.
Good evening. I'd like to call the December 18th regular board meeting of the Medina City Schools Board of Education to order. Thank you all for braving the weather, excuse me, to come out this evening. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Chambers, when you're ready, if you'll call roll, please.
Mr. Nichols.
Here.
Mr. Ross.
Here.
Mr. West.
Here.
Ms. Pritchard.
Here.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have an executive session scheduled here at the top of the meeting to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, or compensation of a public employee or official, to consider the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, and discussion with the board's legal counsel of disputes involving the board that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Would someone make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. West. Mr. Chambers?
Yes, Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will go to executive session. We promise not to be too long, and then we'll be back. Thank you. And we're back. Thank you for your patience. Next up on the agenda is approval of board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting on the 15th of November and the regular meeting on November 20th.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Thank you, Ms. Pritchard. Are there any questions, comments, additions that need to be made to the minutes? Otherwise, we will waive the reading of the minutes. Okay, hearing none. Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additions, removals, or modifications to this evening's agenda?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Pritchard. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Mr. Chambers?
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sable?
Oh, good evening. I'd like to start off this evening by recognizing Ron Ross for his commitment to Medina City Schools and his service on the Medina City Schools Board of Education. It's hard to believe that Ron has reached his final meeting here on the Board of Education after serving 8 years as a board member in the capacity, not just as a board member, but board vice president, as well as board president as well. And I heard through the grapevine that Ron has insisted that we not make too big of a deal about it. So I'll try and keep my words short. But I did think about a few things that I wanted to say about Ron. The first thing is I wanted to thank you because you're one of the original board members that brought me here to Medina City Schools. And for me and my career, it's one of the best things that has ever happened to me. Medina is really a special place and a special school district. And it's because of the people like you that really advocate for our students as well as our staff that make it such a special place. One story that I do want to share about Ron, and he's told me the story, I think probably 3 or 4 times over the last 8 years that I've been here in the district. But he always carries around a letter that he wrote. And I think it was a letter he wrote before he was actually on the Board of Education. And it was about concerns that he had about things that he believed weren't happening the way they should be within the school district. And what Ron decided to do is to run for school board and be a change agent. And become active in the schools. And what Ron has shared with me multiple times is that he carries that letter with him because he looks at the way he has learned and grown since he has been on the school board and an active member with the school district. And how many things are really right in the district. And how he didn't have a clear vision of what Medina City Schools was and how that's changed over the course of time. And we talk about things like our portrait of a bee and our portrait of an educator, which is something that we're working on now. And those are things that really reflect, we talk about our students oftentimes, but it's really beyond our students. It's a culture, and Ron, you really represent that culture for our students and our staff. And one of the important pieces of that is being able to work with others, being open to others' ideas and listening, as well as being a lifelong learner. And you've definitely shown that you are all of those things. So it really has been a pleasure to work with you all of these years. And it's going to be strange to not have you sitting next to me come January. One thing that I'm happy about is my last contract is coming to an end, and it's on here for a board vote this evening. And I'm proud that one of your last things is to be able to have a decision on my contract this evening. That means a lot to me. So thank you, Ron. And I do have a few things that I want to present you with on behalf of the school district. The first is our empowerment medal, and we do not just hand these out to anybody. So these are the medals that we award to our teachers that develop deeper learning lessons in the district. So they are doing lessons that are non-traditional, and they are really actively engaging students in the educational process and are building skills in students that show or represent the portrait of a bee and prepare them for the real world. So I think you display all of those qualities in what you've done as a board member, especially how you are out representing. I think you are at absolutely everything in the district all the time.
I have a few things to say real quick, if that's
Also
okay.
have a certificate on your behalf that I want to present to you on behalf of the school district, signed by myself, President Parkhurst, as well as David Chambers. Yep.
You're welcome. And I know you don't want a lot of accolades, but I did have something I just wanted to say briefly because we have served for a long time together. So I'd like to thank Ron Ross for 8 years of service to Medina City Schools Board of Education. I know Ron doesn't want much fanfare. He likes to keep it about the students, and that's what I appreciate about Ron. Although Ron was not born and raised in Medina, his kids both graduate from Medina High School, and Ron bleeds green and white. Ron is a huge proponent of public education and of Medina City Schools. Ron and I have not always agreed at times, but we have always been able to have a conversation and to talk things through. Sometimes we even agree to disagree. But Ron is always open to conversation and to others' ideas. He always takes the time to listen to people, even when he's working out the rec center or walking through his neighborhood. He's also the first one to admit when he has made a mistake, and that is a worthy quality that we do not see enough of these days. And Ron has my respect and admiration for that. I have served alongside Ron for 8 years on the school board, and we have both learned and grown a lot in that time. Ron is a true public servant, and I thank him and his wife Kathy for their service because, as we all know, family is impacted when you serve for the public. I will miss serving with Ron. I wish him joy and happiness as he concludes this adventure and begins your next one. Thank you, Ron.
And we invited our cross-country coaches, Brian and Jordan, here this evening, and a few of our athletes were maybe able to attend. I know with the weather that could have made it difficult, but I want to invite Brian and Jordan up. I think they wanted to say a couple words to you this evening. And if you know anything about Ron, running is his passion. If there's anything bigger than a passion, that's what running is for Ron.
Mr. Ross, Mr. Ross, we're here, Jordan's here, Jake's here, and some other guys are home studying for midterms, but we're here to say thank you for your service here, and we'll miss seeing you in this capacity. But we thank you for always attending our events, for sending emails, for encouraging the boys when you see them out running. When you come to their meets to watch them, they love it. They tell us about it all the time. And I guess I can't speak for the girls, but at least the boys tell me that. So you're an inspiration. The things that you do in your own life, and I'm talking about the running things especially, but we appreciate all the support that you've given us, and we look forward to seeing you beyond that, beyond this time, on the course, on the track. As we said earlier, we know you're not moving, you're retiring, but you'll still be around, we hope. So thank you for your time, thank you for your energy, thank you for your encouragement.
Yeah, Ron, I'd just like to echo what Gus said. Mr. Sable mentioned representative and example, and a lot of what we talk about with our cross-country and track kids is becoming lifelong runners, and they do see you out there doing it time and again, and you're a prime example of what it means to find a passion and stick with it for your whole life. So we appreciate your example to our kids as they learn to kind of push forward in what that means to be lifelong runners. And as Gus said as well, we always appreciate the encouragement, the emails that you send after the season. We're not a sport that's in your face out in the community. Well, I guess we're running around in the community, but we appreciate your appreciation and your recognition of the dedication that our athletes have put in. So thank you for your time and your service, and we'll miss you in this capacity, but we don't expect you to go anywhere when it comes to being around our program. So thanks, Ron.
And at this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Kwolek up. We have a special item on the agenda tonight relevant to our baseball and softball facilities.
I think this naming committee is also a testament to the people, the men and women we have in our district as well, so I'm going to continue the momentum. On November 20th, in my role as Assistant Superintendent, I established a naming committee composed of several individuals, which meets Board Policy 7250 for naming of Medina City School District-owned policy. Our committee consisted of Board Member Jean Pritchard, Administrators Todd Hodke and Jim Shields, Parent Ben Stobbs, Community Member Dan Stadnick, who you'll hear from in a little bit, and Employee Mark Kelly, who's a high school teacher and coach of the baseball team. We met to discuss the naming of the Medina City Schools High School Athletic Baseball and Softball Park Complex after Mr. Jim Wells. The committee agreed wholeheartedly that Jim Wells has not only made an outstanding contribution to the district, but his character is unquestioned, and he was also a resident of the community, a 1959 graduate of Medina City Schools, as well as a 26-year employee of the district. In making this determination, the committee received letters from more people than I could list here, and more people than I've ever received in my 26 years in this district. So I will not be able to do justice as well as Dan could, who's his childhood best friend. So I'm going to have Dan come up and just tell you a little bit about Jim. I know some of the people up here, Jean in particular, have their own stories too, so you might even hear some from board members. Thanks, Dan.
Hi. My name is Dan Stadnick. Jim and I were friends for close to 80 years. We shared a duplex, our families, on South Court Street, and I have a picture of us taken in 1943 of us in our little white shorts, white shoes, holding hands. And I will be married 60 years this coming summer, and I've known Jim 20 years longer than my marriage. It's sort of really hard to believe. Jim and his wife had Thanksgiving dinner at our house for 46 straight years until his passing. My father died when I was 11 years old, and the Wellses became my second family. And Jim and I were more like brothers than friends. Jim was a great athlete. He played football, basketball, and baseball for Medina High School. He graduated in 1959. He went to Ball State College in Indiana on a baseball scholarship. He's in the Medina County Hall of Fame. He is in the Medina High School Hall of Fame and was inducted in the very first class in 2001. He's the first person in Medina County history to sign a professional baseball or professional sports contract. He played baseball for the Atlanta Braves. He also played professional softball, which hardly anybody knows about, for a team in Columbus and won a national championship. He coached and taught at Medina for 26 years. He's probably one of the biggest boosters of Medina High School. He dragged me to more games than I could ever imagine. When he passed away, Rick Nolan of the Medina Gazette wrote a story about Jim entitled A Mythical Figure. And boy, was that true. As Chris mentioned, a number of people wrote letters endorsing Jim. Mark Easton, class of 1979, who was IBM vice president, wrote a 3-page letter and said that Jim was a great man, a great teacher, and a great friend. Alan Cooksey, former Medina head football coach, where Jim coached under him, said Jim was among Medina's best and brightest. And lastly, my son, Brian, who was inducted into the Medina High School Hall of Fame this year, in his acceptance speech, praised Jim for all of his guidance and work helping him through his high school years. He was also Jim's ball boy when Jim coached basketball, when Brian was probably 13 or 14 years old. I appreciate the opportunity of talking about him. He, as I mentioned, was a friend for close to 80 years. I think he's very deserving of this honor, and I know he would be very humbled. I just want to share one quick story. He met his wife, or future wife, on a beach in Florida. He was wearing a jacket that said USA on the back. As young guys do, he was really trying to impress the ladies. And he saw this beautiful blonde girl and was telling her all these tall stories about being on the Olympic team. Little did he know his future wife was on the United States speed skating team. She lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And even with all the fibs he told, somehow he convinced her, and they were together for a long time. So I appreciate it again. Thank you very much.
I found that picture. I don't know, maybe Jared can zoom in, but I'll add it. I wanted to let the board know too, if you do pass this naming, we will look to name the facility at the first baseball game this season. So we'll have more information if the board does pass this naming. But I haven't been on a naming committee in my years here where we've had so many people write from the community. So I feel very lucky to be part of this naming committee and very excited to present this to you tonight. Thank you.
And my next item, I'm actually going to go a little bit out of order because I know we have several students from our high school who have exams tomorrow and are probably hoping for snow days. But I want to invite Dr. Tadona up. She's got a whole crew here to help share what's going on with capstone projects at the high school, which is part of our SOAR initiatives.
All right, good evening. So as Mr. Sable said, we are going to talk a little bit about our capstone projects, and it's missing a slide. That's okay, I don't need it. So a capstone spans all of our disciplines, and it offers our students a lot of voice, choice, and independence. So what you'll hear tonight are a couple groups of students who have started with a project from start to finish and are in the middle of it. but are experiencing all of the hurdles and navigating all the things that we have to do in our adult lives. So it's been really cool, and I sat down with all of these students to hear a little bit more about their projects, and I think you guys will be blown away. A capstone project, though, is in grades 5, 8, and 12, and it is part of our response for our Portrait of a Bee. And as we know, the Portrait of a Bee is what our community says that they want our seniors to graduate with, are these competencies. So this is a way for the district in these 3 grade levels to not only teach our students about these competencies, but to assess our students in these competencies. And I think when you hear them talk tonight, you'll see that they are really knocking out of the park. So I'm going to hand it off to Mrs. Kelly Kreiner, who is the teacher of our senior portrait or senior capstone class.
Hello, everyone. Let's see if I can get this right. So, as Dr. Jonas said, I'm Kelly Kreiner. I have the 12th grade. We call it Portrait Project, and it's for the seniors. It's a pilot year, so we've been learning a lot, and I'm really proud of our students. We have 29 students in one section right now, and tonight we have 5 of them. One was 6, so I was going to say 6, but we have one missing. We've also had some other opportunities. Before they talk to you about, we have one group that's going to talk about their actual project, and then another group that will talk about an opportunity they got to experience because Dr. Tadona was looking for students when we had Finnish visitors to the school. So we've done a couple things beyond even, I guess, what we were planning originally. We've had a lot of opportunities. So one of these was we had someone reached out to us from the Cleveland Clinic, Medina Hospital, and asked us to work on an oral history project. So these are pictures. Dr. Tom Ebner, who's a retired board member, was interviewed by his granddaughter, who is in the capstone class. And these students ask questions, and we've had speakers as well, but ask questions about where did you find your passion? Were there times that maybe you wished you had done something differently? Like, how do you look back on that now? And they also talked a lot about the community, which was really interesting. So that the innovative problem solver, what do you do when you hit a problem? That mindset of how do you keep going? They had some really interesting stories about the hospital and our community because all of these people live in our community. The masts had 3 students on our wall of fame here at the high school. So that was really interesting. But this was a project that our group worked on kind of as a whole, not just one of our 10 project teams. So I'm going to have the next opportunity was the Finnish students, and Jack Colbert and Charlotte Newell are going to speak to us about that.
My name is Charlotte Newell.
My name is Jack Colbert.
We are both seniors and taking senior capstone. Taking this class has provided us with several opportunities inside and outside of the classroom.
One opportunity we were given was the chance for us to collaborate with teachers and students from Finland. And we created a presentation that included around 20 questions to ask the students and teachers visiting.
This included questions about their education system, about how their education system, lifestyles, and even world is different from ours in Medina compared to theirs back home. It was shocking to see such differences in our lives and to finally understand what life is like in Finland.
Our presentation also included questions that they had for all of us. Charlotte and I then presented these questions to several Medina staff members and of course the guests from Finland. Ms. Kreiner and Dr. Tadona helped put this all to life for us.
Mrs. Kreiner put together goodie bags with American snacks and candies. Dr. Tadona surprised us with pins that had the American and Finland flags for us to wear. The both of them helped with the presentation by guiding us in the right direction.
Portrait of a Bee was one thing we followed to create our presentation. Collaboration and communication were the 2 main things we used from it. Charlotte and I collaborated with each other while working on the interview. We also collaborated with Ms. Kreiner and Dr. Tadona to make sure everything was perfect.
We also communicated with them about our thoughts and ideas, and then communicated with each other on how we could make this the most engaging experience for everyone.
In our opinion, we believe we were able to accomplish this thanks to the support of our teachers and principals.
Does anyone have any questions?
Well, you did do a great job moderating that day. I was in there, and you did a fantastic job moderating between the Medina High School students and the Finnish students. So thank you for all your efforts with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I should have done the slides for you. Thank you both so much. So these were some of the questions. How do teaching styles differ here versus the ones back home? They had a list of a lot. We just included a few. And then there are some pictures from that day. They're the goodie bags they were talking about. They wanted us to get snacks or candy that they couldn't get at home. So we had to investigate that. Our next
And their
group-
favorite store,
Yes, in their favorite store. That's exactly what we-
Costco.
Yes,
Right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. That was the favorite thing they did while they were here. Right? This next group their project is called Caregivers of the Future. It's Tiffany Hydash. Samantha is not available tonight. As I said, she's ill. And then Madeline Kessler and Emily, I'm going to say it wrong, Peeler. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I got nervous. So they're going to talk to you about their project. And it's this one to move forward. Okay. I should have shown Charlotte.
So I'm Madeline Kessler.
I'm Emily Peeler.
I'm Tiffany Hydash. You can. So as Mrs. Kreiner said, our project is titled Caregivers of the Future. We are working to advocate for the mental health of caregivers, and in order to do this, we're also starting a scholarship at the high school, which is going to help fund current and future caregivers. Within our project as well, we're working on providing resources for caregivers to cope with their mental health struggles and really just do whatever we can to be an outlet for them. So our fundraiser to come up with funds for our scholarship was a hot chocolate booth at the Medina Candlelight Walk. We reached out to several people in order to make this happen. One of those being Mrs. Mansur, who runs the Main Street Medina page, and she helped us find an area that we could set up, how we can do it, and just like get the whole thing running. We also reached out to several different businesses in order to get all the donation or all the resources that we needed donated. And because of this, we were able to raise $777.69. And if nothing had been donated, we would have actually lost over $100. So it was really beneficial that we reached out to all these businesses and got everything donated.
Okay, so along with us establishing connections within our community, we also wanted to have a way for people to reach out to us, and by one of those ways was we made a website so that we could get in contact with people. We also provided resources for caregivers who are struggling with their mental health on there, and a link to our prompts for our scholarship for 2024 seniors. We also started an Instagram so we could get the word out there to 2024 seniors again, and then it also provides just updates on our project, research, resources, and information about our scholarship.
In regards to Portrait of the Bee, this class has been the most useful thing we've been given all throughout high school. It's allowed us to make connections with our community. We've done so much work just like advocating for ourselves, advocating for the people in our community, and really like getting experience in the real world. I think it's been extremely beneficial to all of us. Is that everything?
Do you guys have any questions for us?
I appreciate you coming here tonight. I know everyone's got midterms tomorrow, and I can see how you related everything to the Portrait of the Bee competencies. I do have one question. How did you determine or decide about caregiver mental health, that that's what you wanted to focus on?
So all of us want to be caregivers in our future, and originally we wanted to do a project that had something to do with mental health. It's obviously something that a lot of people struggle with. And since we all want to be caregivers, we really wanted to tie that into mental health, especially because we know there's a lot of tasking things that can go with being a caregiver. You have long hours, you know, and you're not really, your feelings aren't really advocated for because you're constantly taking care of other people, and those people need the same amount of care as all those people that they're taking care of. So we really wanted to just advocate for them.
That's great. Thank you. Especially if it's something you plan to continue a career in, it's good to learn about that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. That's great.
I'd like to just ask one, what fields do the three of you want to go into as caregivers?
So I want to be a pediatric physical therapist.
I'm not 100% certain yet, but I've been thinking about orthodontistry or dentistry.
I want to go into the nursing field, so.
Well, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
So the last thing I want to say is just a huge thank you to Mrs. Kreiner, who's really leading and helping and facilitating a lot of these projects, to the board and our Department of Instruction for implementing our Portrait of a Bee. I think it is really awesome to see our students find a passion, which I think is sometimes the hardest part, is to figure out what they want to do, what they're interested in, and then how to put it into action. So seeing where these students started at the beginning of the year, where they are now, and where they'll be at the end of the year is, I can already tell, will be the highlight of my year here. So thank you very much for the board and to the community for adopting our Portrait of a Bee. Thank you.
In regards to that snow day, Mr. O'Cole and I will be up very early in the morning monitoring the roads and the weather. I have been watching the weather all afternoon, though, and I think we're going to be okay. Next up, I'd like to invite our Transportation Director, Brenda Arthur, as well as our Business Director, Ryan O'Cole, to talk about a neat app that's going to be available to our families in the new year. And it's called Here Comes the Bus.
I told Brenda, don't worry about this. We won't have to go after kids. Seems to be how it works.
It is.
So I put together a little video today. I'll start with, if we could start with that, I'll show you how the app works, and then we can answer any questions and kind of talk about what it is that we're talking about. But I figured the easiest way would be to show you on the computer, and then there's a portion of it that's on the phone too. So I wanted to show you that.
We're really excited about this new software that we're introducing today. It's from the transportation website. It's called Here Comes the Bus. It's on the left-hand side here. These are the directions on how to set it up for yourself. There's a code in there, enter the school code, you'll need that. And then this QR code, you can scan that or use the website. And that's here on the bottom. And here you're just going to set up your account, and you want to sign up today on the left, and I've already done that. So here's what it looks like when you're in it. And then I have some students in here. Craig was nice enough to let me use his children, because mine don't ride the bus. But here's their website, or their stops for the AM and the PM. And then midday's on there. We do have students that do midday runs, so that's why that's in there. Notification section. This allows you to set up a notification once the bus is within a certain area. So if you need more time in the morning, you can make it larger. And then in the PM, I guess you could make it larger if you're interested in when they're coming home, or if you just want to know they're home. That's the easiest way to do that, is make that radius real small. So that's a good way to set that up. In the account here, you can add more kids if you have more children, or you can delete them if you no longer want to get information on them. And then, of course, there's a help page with all kinds of documentation from Here Comes the Bus. And then back to the map. This is the best area for information. Now, we only provide tracking information of the buses when they're doing their routes. We don't provide tracking on any all day long. But then also in the upper left there's the bar. You can see kind of what's going on, the schedule of the bus, or when it's arrived or not arrived. So that's good information as well. And then, of course, I'll show you then what it looks like as an iPhone. This is the app running on the iPhone, and this is the same group of kids. So the map, and again, this is the morning. We don't provide the bus information when the routes are not in, when the buses are not en route. So here again, Green is the school that you'll be delivered to. The red dot is your stop. At the top is where you choose your different children. It does not display all children at one time on the map, so if you have middle school, high school, elementary, you have to select them individually to see where their route is. But it also lets you set up the notifications the same way on how far you want to be notified ahead of time. Again, if you need more time in the morning, make it larger, and that'll increase the distance of your bus to your notification. So again, this is just a very useful tool. Allows you to get live information on where the bus is and when the bus will be at the house. So it's really good information for parents that are waiting or wanting to know, especially as we get into the time of the year when the weather starts to get a little bad, and if those buses are delayed a little bit, this is good information to have. So again, if you have any questions, reach out to Brenda or myself. Brenda Arthur is the head of the transportation department, or myself, and provide any information we can. Thank you.
So next time I'll have Brenda narrate that. It kind of sounded like nails on the chalkboard as I was listening to it. A very bad Barry White. So we'll have Brenda do that next time.
Okay.
But so this came about. Brenda has GPS units in all of the buses, and this is just a great opportunity for parents to have more information on their students riding the buses. So we're super excited about it. We're ready to get it out there. But I don't know if you have any questions for either one of us.
I do.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You want to go first? First, I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you at when we came around and did the tour, but you were off that day, and I guess it was one of the first days in a long time, so needed the day off. But I was very excited to see the big screen with the buses, and it showed them in the yard that day when we were there. So does that work only works when they leave the yard?
So we can monitor them at all times.
Right.
But the software for the parents, we only have it set up so that when they're en route. So when the drivers start in the morning, they're considered on their route, then they'll be displayed.
And I must say, I wish I would have had that for my sons a long time ago, because our sons would stand outside for 10 minutes in the snow sometimes, and it would have been nice. But I'm excited for this. So.
And that's one of the things that I said in the video is you can set the radius of when you want a notification when they're coming, and the really nice thing is it's easiest to do from a computer. So if you're on a computer and you're doing that, you can set the AM and the PM, and it's easy to do. So if you really want to know, like, if the bus is a mile out, you can set it at a mile. If on the way home, like, I would just want to know when they've been dropped off, so you set the radius circle really short or small, and then you'll get that notification late. Like, I don't want to know if they're on the way home and they're a mile away, because it could be 7 stops before they get to the house. So just things to consider. But yes, it's going to be, it's a very nice feature we're able to offer our parents.
Yeah, it also tells the time when the bus reaches the school and releases them, so.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that with us this evening. I have 2 questions. First, I know parents can receive notifications, so if, say, the bus is running late due to weather, will they receive a notification?
Yes.
Okay.
We can send that out. And with this program, we can now do a text, which before we could only do an email.
Okay.
So now this will be a push notification where we can do that.
Oh,
and
great.
show them if a bus was substituted with a different bus, that will do that also.
Okay, perfect. I was thinking about the text messages. Sometimes it would come through, this bus is for that bus, and they'll get those personalized push notifications or text messages. Great. When are you expecting this to be up and running? Because I'm sure everyone is excited for this.
Well, we're ready now, so we thought after the board meeting, we would send out the information to the parents. Like I said, we also put it on the website. It is on the transportation website, so Craig's going to the transportation website now. And on the left-hand column, it is called Here Comes the Bus. And right there's all the information on how you sign up for your notifications. And like you said, or Brenda also indicated in that conversation, it does email notifications, and it will do, if you use the app, it'll push to your phone, which is, I think, what I would recommend people use. That's good information. And we can also now, like Brenda said, tailor the emails, communications to the particular route instead of sending a blanket email to the district saying, if you ride such and so bus, it's going to be late. So it should help out parents and our notification process quite a bit.
That's great. Thank you so much.
And my last item this evening is in regards to the potential March 2024 levy. And I say potential because we do have a second resolution on tonight's agenda for the board to review and vote on to place a 7.5 mil operating levy on the ballot in March. The 7.5 mil operating levy would still require, or does still require, the district to make reductions of approximately $10 to $12 million. We are in the process of reviewing what those reductions will be. The redistricting process that we're currently undergoing is going to provide us with some additional opportunities to be able to make reductions due to the consolidation of positions as well as resources. We will be making every effort we can to make those reductions through attrition, but I can't guarantee with the amount of reduction that we need to make that we will be able to do that. We are getting very close in being able to list the teaching positions in terms of the redistricting, and our goal was to do that by the end of this month. So I do anticipate that is going to be happening soon. In terms of determining the reductions, that's going to be an ongoing process as we head into the spring, especially as things like retirements occur throughout the spring, so that we can make decisions regarding positions and how we can potentially move people around. And those reductions will impact the district across the board. So what I mean by that is we will be looking at administrator reductions, teacher reductions, as well as classified reductions in addition to looking at our day-to-day resources and expenses. And that's all that I have for this evening.
Mr. Sable, can I just piggyback on? Now, I'm wearing this Walsh Jesuit jersey not only to annoy Mrs. Parkhurst, but also to just say to all of you that if you go to a private school, Walsh, St. Ed's, St. Ignatius, pick it out, I don't really care. They're all good schools. I don't have any problem with that. But they don't have to follow any of the rules. They're not, if you go to the ODE website, you're not going to see their ranking because they don't have to do it. But the most important thing I want you to remember is that if the parent applies for a voucher, that school is getting $8,000 per child. If we got that $8,000, we would get $48 million instead of the $9 million that we get. So if this doesn't upset you as a taxpayer, it should, because your tax money is going to fund private schools. And I just hope that you consider that we are doing everything we can with the under $1,500 that we get for kids. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chambers.
Ryan, I know, I hate following kids too, so. The district bank balance decreased $10 million in November to $58 million. This is $6.4 million below last year at this time. The 5-year forecasted revenues were above last November by $4.6 million. Real property, personal property, state foundation property tax allocation and other revenue account for the increase. The 5-year forecasted expenditures were below last November by $156,000. Personal services, capital, and other account for the decrease. The sales tax fund balance decreased by $3 million, to $3 million. The district spent approximately $147,000 in November with major expenditures on bond payments, masonry repairs, and paving. The rec center capital fund balance decreased to negative $346,000. The district spent $1,700 in November on the expansion project. And yes, we are going to be receiving monies from Medina City for the expansion project. Those will go right into this fund. The district has received $179,000 in investment income for November. The total collected for the current fiscal year is approximately $387,000 above the last fiscal year at this time. And finally, the district has forecasted funds true days cash estimated to be 149 days. Also on the agenda today is a new fund. And I'm at a loss for words because this fund is going to Helping Hands Preschool. It's their first fund that they actually have, and I know Heather Mix was looking for this about a month or two ago, and I had it out there for her, but I just never placed it before the board because I put it out there in the system and forgot about it until her secretary said, "Hey, what's going on with that fund?" So it's a new fund. It's an 018 fund. It will appear on the agenda today for your approval. It's a supply fund for the preschool. We also have supplementals. Let's see. We have Claggett Principal asking for funds. Brian. They received local grants, and these grants weren't anticipated, so we're getting them on for board approval. We have the preschool principal fund, which I spoke about. We have the safety grant fund for $10,000. This is a carryover from last year, I believe, maybe 2 years ago. We also have our ARP ESSER funds. The first one that you see, 507-9022, that is a reduction as we have spent the ESSER funds down. We actually spent those down, and we renamed a new fund here, your ARP ESSER 9024, if I recall. You also have your ESSER activity funds. That's carryover from last year, and then the rest of the funds, the 516s through the 590, are carryovers of the final expenditure reports from last year. And finally, we have a fund-to-fund transfer. This fund-to-fund transfer is paying off not paying off, but paying down the principal and interest of the COPS bonds. This is a bi-yearly or semi-yearly transfer. You pay the principal down once a year. You pay the interest down twice a year. Questions on those?
Mr. Chambers, please remind me how many more payments or when it's due for the COPS bond is due.
The COPS fund, their last payment is due in 37.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
I also just wanted to remind everyone that the treasurer's financial report is available on the board docs, but is also on our website every month. Thank you. Board communications. We do want to maybe limit them a little bit just because of the weather, inclement weather outside. Thank you, Mr. West.
I'll go quick. Attended the Encore Christmas concert, which was really good. Been to that every year. I'm going to say thanks to Ron. Got to know him a little bit, and going to try and your 2 rules. It's got to be good for the heart and good for the kids. So I'm going to take that adopt that. So that's all I've got.
I have 2 things that I'd like to share, and I just want you to know that I didn't write anything because I didn't want to write anything, because I didn't want to sound scripted. I wanted to tell you what I'm feeling in the moment, and it's coming from my heart, as Andrew mentioned. I want to thank Mr. Sable and Mrs. Parkhurst for your comments. And I've received a lot of texts as well. And I want to thank all the folks who reached out and, thanked me for my service. It is what it is. I know I appreciate the medal. However, the true heroes that deserve this medal are, as you mentioned, in the classroom. And I would never want to downplay what our staff is doing. So I really appreciate everything that our staff is doing. And the thing I want to mention is I did write a letter. I wrote a letter to the editor back in 2010. And that letter, and Aaron is right, I still keep it with me because it was pretty ignorant on my part. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I had a lot to learn, and a lot of times you will hear people say that educators are, they have such an important job that they shape the minds of our young people, whether it's, preschool, K through 12, or even in college. But don't forget, you also shape the mind of adults. And in my journey on the school board started in 2010, and it's evolved to 13 years later to 2023. And I'm one of those adults that you changed. I mean, literally changed. Game changer. And I just want to thank all the staff, and that's what I'm pointing at, the staff. Everybody in this room, Aaron, from Aaron Sable down to the lowest ranking person, whoever that is, shaped my thinking. Because I guarantee you, the guy who wrote that letter in 2010 is not the guy sitting here today. It's totally different. And a lot of it started when I was tutoring math at Claggett, and I met a guy named John Leatherman. And he would always come in and say hi to me, kind of rib me a little bit. He always did. And but it was all good. And then Dave Hammond, John was the president of MCTA at that time, before he became principal at Evolve. And Dave was our chemistry teacher at the high school. And Lori Berger, all three of you reached out to me. And I to this day, I don't know what you saw, but you reached out and you set up 2 days for me to get into classrooms. 2 whole days. I spent the first day at Claggett and Heritage and the second day at the high school. And I remember when I went home, my wife asked me how everything went. And I told her, I said 2 words. I said, game changer. That's what I told her. Because I saw in those 2 days, not only the passion from our staff, but I saw how the students reacted, how they were engaged. And it just changed, I don't know, it just changed everything that I ever thought about public ed. And I've always wanted to rip up that letter because I'm so different, and I'm still evolving. Honestly, I'm not done yet. But I've just learned so much because of the wonderful people we have on our staff and what you all have taught me. And I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to continue to stay around and hope as a community member be involved and continue to learn from folks like John and Lori, Dave, and many, many more. And I cannot mention names for fear of forgetting someone. So that's why I say our entire staff. So I just want to thank everybody for everything they've done to help me be a better person. And as soon as I get home, I think I ended the chapter, and I'm going to rip up that letter. I think it's a done deal now. I'm going to tear it up and not have to look at it of where I came from. I think I'm done with that. So thank you for reminding me. That's a good story. The other thing I wanted to read to you something. Because Mrs. Pritchard mentioned it about public dollars going to private entities. And that really upsets me a lot, as much as it does you and Mr. Chambers. But if public education, think of public education as a person, and if public education could speak, if it could talk, here's what public education would say. Okay, and I quote, "I am public education, and I provide my service to everyone. I don't ask about your ancestry, your income, your race, your religious beliefs, your sexual orientation, your citizenship, or your social standing. I don't care if your parents work in a mine or on the top floor of a corporate headquarters. I'm not concerned about how you're dressed or where you live. I will serve you even if you cannot speak English or if you need special assistance. My door is always open to you. My commitment to your success is unconditional. I am public education, and I am here to serve you." Unquote. And when I read that I think of everybody in this room who are serving kids with there's no requirement. They show up, you have the door open for them. And public education is one of the vital institutions that made America great. And we've got to fight to keep it that way. And I know we have a good staff here that is doing just that. And Mr. Sable is one of the people that has really set that example, because I know your door has always been open. Anytime we wanted to come in and talk, community member wanted to come in and talk, call you, you have always been, come on in. And so I so appreciate that, and I appreciate everything you've all done to teach kids. Doesn't matter who they are or where they come from. You open up your arms, and that means a lot to me. And being on this board, I'm so proud to be a part of an institution that serves in that capacity. So that's all I got, and I just want to thank you all for letting me serve you, and I'll be around. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. I think we all want to make a copy of that. That was good. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Nichols, tough act to follow.
Yeah, I was about to say, why do I have to follow Ron on his last meeting? One thing that I wanted to bring up, actually, me and Ron went to at Northrop was a little showcase of, I forget the grade, 5th grade maybe. It had a science exhibit that they went and showed a bunch of us. And it was all about water pollution and different like things like oil spills and the effects that they have on the oceans and different projects like that. That was really cool. And then for the second half of our visit at Northrop, we went over and saw 4th grade class, I believe. I'm not doing good with remembering the grades. But 4th grade class for to see them go through the CKLA stuff. It was something that I've already seen a couple times. I'm part of the curriculum committee. I went through and looked at all that when we were first proposing it. And I think this was the first time that Ron's really seen it in action. And I know we both walked out of there and Ron's like, wow, like, this is awesome. Like, I know I've said it before. I can't remember if you said it, Ron, but we were like, if we had this when we were in school, like, this is a game changer for just using the science of reading to get kids interested and hands-on with reading, writing, and the various things like that, and kind of ingrain that a little bit better than let's say I had, because if you asked me to take a grammar test, I would definitely pass 100%. But these kids are getting a leg up on us. I know I'm the youngest, possibly the youngest person in the room, but us old people. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention was thank you to Ron, and thank you to Ron's family, Ron's wife, grandkids, kids, all that. I think all of them deserve a huge thank you for allowing you to be as involved and as hands-on as you've been at your time here. And, you know, thank you for I know various people have mentioned it, being able to sit down and have a conversation and being open to, okay, maybe my way isn't the best way, or having a conversation of, hey, this is really why I think it's better to do it this way, and kind of having those communication lines open, so there's something there. 3 quick things that I wanted to mention about Ron is Ron, and actually Becky, but you're stuck here for a little while, so you know, you get this later. But Ron, I don't know if you know that you were one of the first people, besides my wife, when I was deciding to run for school board, that didn't care how old I was, didn't care what I was doing, where I was at in my life, those type of things. You just saw that I came in, I reached out to you, and I had questions about what school board was. I think at the time I was 29 or 30 when I actually first reached out. And people were like, you're young, what are you doing? You're throwing your life away. I'm like, it's school board, first off, which is a big thing, but, you know, it's not like I'm running for Congress or trying to be president or something like that. But I just really appreciate, and that speaks a lot about you, of just being willing to help out and no matter what. And then the second thing was, we had a conversation a year ago at OSBA, and you were definitely struggling with the decision to not run again. But, you know, when we were sitting there talking, I kind of got the feeling that your mind was made up. You just needed somebody to kind of say, Ron, it's okay. And I'm glad that you made this decision the way that you did. I'd love to have you on the board longer, but, you know, there's other people out there that would love to have you around a lot more than, and need you a lot more than we do. So I appreciate that decision. And then a funny anecdote, walked in the door and Ron looks at me and goes, thank you for your service. And I was so confused because Ron's the guy that's leaving. This is his last meeting and he's telling me thank you for your service. So, no, Ron, thank you.
I'm going to do the Career Center, so this doesn't count towards my time, but the new program that the Career Center is going to start in the fall is called Construction Electricity, and then the construction trade is going to double in size due to the money given by the Ken Cleveland Foundation. A couple weeks ago, we had our board dinner, which was done by Chef Tony and his crew. I got to sit with a young lady from Medina, Allison Myers, who is in digital design. She wants to be an architect. She is a young lady with a plan, and I mean, I was very impressed. She's the president of the Key Club and does the morning announcements, and she plans to attend University of Cincinnati. I'm going to just kind of sum all this up. December Students of the Month, I want to congratulate Emily Neasley and Josh Mogg. Ellen Nicholson continues to add to her collection of medals with the gold at her junior debut in Mexico in weightlifting. She also won a silver and a bronze, and her goal is to be in the 2028 Olympics in weightlifting. I've been to the band holiday show, which had a huge crowd, the choir concert, the bell choir at Canavan, which is always a lot of fun, and Friday I got to go to Garfield and see the kindergarten first and second grade concert, which was just a blast. The kids had a great time. I also would like to thank the owners and the staff at Time 2 for sponsoring the Garfield breakfast. They had a full house, amazing food, and everybody donated their time. We also had 2 winners in the Friends of the Cemetery photo contest. Tommy Vilwak won the middle school, and Hallie Bilick won the high school. And then last, I'm the one who always gets to call Ron if I need to talk to him. Well, Becky calls and says, you have to talk to Ron. I'm like, oh, so I get in my car.
That is not true.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Twice.
I get in my
Twice.
car, and then I have to go out on every road to try to find where Ron is running so I can yell through the window what I have to tell him. So, Ron, I want to tell you, I'd like to say more, but I don't want to embarrass you. I do pace him now, but I thank you for your service to our country, to our city, and above to our students. And I wish you the best, and I hope to see you around. I will see you around because I'll come and just, run my car by every once in a while. And one thing I do want to tell all parents, if you think your child waits to the last minute to do projects, Mrs. Parkhurst did the same thing Thursday.
This is not a roast.
I don't care. I'm still telling. So don't feel bad when the president of the board waits till the last minute to do her project for her class at college. Thank you, and everybody have a happy holiday.
Thank you, Ms. Pritchard. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Ross.
I just wanted to add one thing. I'd be remiss if I didn't welcome Mrs. Smoyer, Amy Smoyer, who was elected, and she starts in a couple weeks. She'll be sworn in, and I think she'll be a great addition to the board, and welcome to Amy. Thank you.
Thank you. I will keep these brief. The curriculum committee did not meet this month just because of the short month and everyone's busy schedules. Policy committee met, and you'll see on our agenda we have policies for consideration for our first reading. And if any of the board members that do not sit on that committee have questions, they're welcome to contact Jean or myself or Dr. Quallick or Mr. Sable or Mr. Chambers, as well as they'll be out there for 30 days for public review, if approved by the board this evening. And then I do want to thank our curriculum department, Mrs. Cassidy and Mrs. Jackson, and all of the people that work with them and all of our teachers. They do a phenomenal job behind the scenes of looking at our curriculum, developing our curriculum. We have very stringent policies for our curriculum review that they hold the district to. And there's a lot of time and effort that goes on with review of any curriculum, as well as our books. And I had the opportunity this week to read a couple of books that were on our Claggett choice list. And our teachers do such a great job of picking appropriate, relevant books for our students. They have such good messages for our kids. And I just wanted to thank our staff for all the efforts that they put in for our students. And lastly, to all of our students and our admin and teachers and staff and everyone, just wishing everyone a great holiday, happy holiday, nice winter break. It is well deserved. We may have snow for the holidays after all, so thank you all for everything that you do. It's time on the agenda for public comment. We have 2 people who signed in to speak, so Mr. Bohr, if you want to make your way up to the podium while I read the rules for public comment. Community members wishing to address the board are asked to abide by the following guidelines. Attendees shall register their intention to comment in the public portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting. After those that have registered have spoken, if time allows, the board president will ask for public comment from all other attendees. Please state your name, address, and affiliation. Please keep comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard, and all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually.
Good evening. My name is Tom Bohr, 3747 Watkins Road, Medina Township. I don't want to be here, and I usually show up places, so I know all of you before I have to come and talk to you. But I can tell you I'm deeply disappointed that with 3 phone calls or 4 placed, I got 1 back from Aaron. But that's okay. I'm here to talk about Claggett School, literature class, however we call it today. I called it English when I was that age. But my 13-year-old granddaughter came to me, or her parents first, and her grandmother, and then me, and said, "What do you think?" I'd like to ask, and I wanted to ask Ron, but he didn't call me back. He was out running someplace, I'm sure. As a graduate of a academy officer, as a police officer for years, is transgender discussion reasonable for a 13-year-old? And I don't know. And I don't know that you know. But when it was brought up to me, I was on the couch reading Epcot Times. It's another conservative paper I read. I read the Wall Street Journal every day. And new trans textbooks could harm millions of kids, critics say. There's a huge article on the inside of this. Wall Street Journal, 2 days ago. Most transgender kids turned out to be gay. And yada, yada, yada. My granddaughter was assigned to a section or something. It looked like there were 6 or 7 groups of kids, 3 or 4 kids in a group. And it looks from what my daughter gave me that the structure was already there, the books were assigned. And she was either in that group or assigned that group. But The Prince and the Dressmaker was one of the books. Jen Wang. It depends on how you read the review of this, various different places, and your perspective of what you want to see. But I was very disheartened to hear you say about how great the selection of the books are. Because she objected to this one, and we told her, don't worry about it, just don't do it. No, but Grandpa, I got an A in this class. I don't want to screw that up. Don't worry about it, 7th grade. So she was put in another group, and this one is a long way down. It's about a group of black kids in the inner city, and he's trying to keep his brother from shooting somebody. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. This is 7th grade, English, literature, whatever. Oh, well. And as our family talks about all of it, probably done. Bestsellers from the old days. What happened to books like this that we used to read in school? But that's your choice. I've asked several times, is there a curriculum committee? Is there a set of rules? Is there any background about this lovely subject that we have been forced upon by a very small percentage of our population, and the rest of us have to eat it? I don't think so. And I'll stop by telling you this, because I heard some great things about all of you that have served. Almost 30 years ago, I pulled petitions to run for this board. You know what my wife told me? This is a girl I met in the 1st grade. We've been married 49 years now. She said, you run for school board, we're getting divorced. So I didn't go that direction. You all do good. I do all kinds of things in the community. I was going to tell you, watch out. Lightning may strike here tonight. I play Santa Claus a lot of places. Yesterday I was in church to watch my granddaughter in the creation play. Took communion, and I laughingly say to all the people that listen to me, I belong to the church, the open slopes, the undulating greens, and the rippling waters. I'm just like this guy over here, except I do it on white stuff. He does it on hard pavement. But I wish you well. I can tell you, I have not met an adult in this community that I've talked about this subject with similar age group, that can give you any support that this stuff should not be in the 7th grade. Feel very strongly about it. I will speak about it for the next 2.5 months, and I hope that you don't get any more money to spend.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Your
Thank
time
you.
has
Bye.
been up. Thank you. Mr. Roche?
I'm Keegan Roach, 729 Weymouth Road, just over there a few hundred feet away, a parent of a kindergartner in the school system here. And I just wanted to express my strong support for the new levy and reiterate that I'm available as a volunteer to support that effort. That's it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who was unable to sign up that would like to speak? Hearing none, we will move on to our action items. Mr. Chambers.
Yes, if it pleases the board. Item number 1 is recommended the Board of Education approve the November 23 Treasurer's Financial Report. Item number 2, it is recommended the Board of Education approve a new fund, 018-9403 Preschool Principal Fund. Item number 3, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the following supplemental to the 23-24 permanent appropriations, which have been spoken about before. And finally, item number 4, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the fund-to-fund transfer as listed.
Make a motion to approve treasurer's action items.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Chambers, if you'll call roll, please.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sable.
Number 1 is donations. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations. I do want to point out the 2 donations, the one from Northrop Elementary PTO, as well as the one from Canavan PTO. These were for upgrades to their playgrounds that have been made. Mr. O'Cole earlier this year, I think at the beginning of the year, actually shared these upgrades as they were in process. Second is policies for consideration. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the first reading of the following new and revised policies and bylaws. Becky, Ms. Parkhurst, you already spoke to these. These are to be reviewed for 30 days before formal recommendation. Number 3 is a resolution. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution naming Medina High School's baseball and softball complex to Jim Wells Park. And thank you to Dr. Kwolek for her leadership with that committee and presentation this evening. Number 4, students placed at Evolve. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreement that Brunswick City School students placed at Evolve Academy will be provided educational services by the Medina City Schools. Number 5 is another service agreement. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreement. This is with Final Site. We are in the process of transitioning our website server. The current website server has been purchased by another company, so we do not have a choice. This contract is just slightly higher than our previous contract, which I think is to be expected in entering a new long-term contract. We will be working on revamping our website as well as upgrading and reformatting it. I know Amy has a lot of work ahead of her. And she's already reached out to departments and buildings in order to begin leading that process. Number 6, it is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the attached elementary English language arts curriculum. And this curriculum, as was shared this evening, does align with the science of reading, which is a new mandate by the Ohio Department of Education. I also want to commend our curriculum department on this adoption process. It really was quite extensive, more extensive than we would do in a typical adoption. So great effort was taken across the district, not only to make sure that we're implementing the best curriculum, but also the best curriculum that meets the needs of Medina City School teachers and students. Number 7, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following stipend payments to district teachers who have served as cooperating teachers for students attending Ashland University during the fall 23 semester. And number 8, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve 2 members from the athletic department to attend the National Federation of State High School Associations National Conference in Orlando, Florida on December 15th through the 19th in order to network and share ideas and learn from athletic leaders in an effort to expand our athletic department programming and services. This is a conference that we have sent our athletic directors to in the past. It's been quite a long time since they've attended. And then number 9, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel recommendations pending completion of all required paperwork to Mr. Shields and our Department of Human Resources. Couple things I do want to point out on here is we do have the resignation of Jason Sturm on this agenda listed under personnel. In addition to that, we do have a few retirements for certified and classified staff, which we will be recognizing towards the end of the school year at one of our spring Board of Education meetings. And I also would like to wish Emily Pedway good luck. She worked in the treasurer's office, and she is going to be working just a mile or 2 down the road for the city. So we wish her well.
I'll make a motion to approve superintendent action items I-1 through I-9.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. West. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any questions or comments from the board regarding these action items?
Yeah, I have a question about the freshman baseball team. Are we having a head freshman baseball coach and then 2 assistants? Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm going to need to defer to Mr. Shields.
That is what we did last year in the transition year of the new coach, and I think they are working on maybe doing 1 less at a different level, but those were the recommendations that we got right now.
The service agreement for the website, you said it was a little bit more than what our old one was. Do you have any idea how much that was?
Yeah, I think it was a few $1,000s more.
That's pretty good for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you.
And I believe that also, it's not just the website, it's also the mobile app as well as our all-call system, correct? Okay. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, Mr. Chambers, if you'll call roll, please.
Yes, Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda is the superintendent's contract. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the superintendent's contract for a 5-year term with provisions as listed in the attached. The superintendent's current contract is set to expire July 31st, 2024. This new contract does not supersede the current contract. If approved by the board, this new contract will begin August 1st, 2024. The board is required to inform the superintendent by March of the year the contract is expiring regarding the board's intentions. The board reviews the superintendent's performance annually and based on those evaluations has worked on a new contract with the superintendent to begin August 1st, 2024. The board appreciates Mr. Sable's leadership and guidance for the last 7.5 years, especially navigating the challenges of the pandemic when we were all struggling. Mr. Sable and his team have implemented our portrait of a bee as our North Star and district initiatives of deeper learning that focus on student achievement. Mr. Sable has a philosophy of doing what is best for kids, and he prioritizes every student every day in his decision-making. Those are also the board's priorities, as we are here for the students. During this time of fiscal challenges, it is important to the board to maintain stability in district leadership, and as such, at this time, we are presenting a new 5-year superintendent contract with a base salary of $168,000 to begin August 1st, 2024 for board approval.
I'll make a motion to pass the superintendent's contract.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just want to thank Mr. Sable for his service and his continued service with this new contract. And I feel like the leadership and the direction that we have under your watch is second to none, and I appreciate everything you've done, at least during the time I've been here. Thank you.
I'd like to add, I've seen, since coming on the board, you've provided very good leadership to the district, and for the last 8 years, I look forward to working with you as long as I'm on the board, and I appreciate Mr. Sable being very collaborative with the board, especially on this new contract, and all of our questions that we ever have whenever we have them, so I appreciate that very much.
There's no other questions or comments. Mr. Chambers, if you'll call roll, please.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item K, action item for the board, is a resolution to proceed with the levy. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution to proceed with an issue of levy of an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation and certifying the same to the Board of Elections. I will waive, unless the board wants to otherwise, waive the reading of the resolution, but the resolution is to approve the ballot language for the March 19th, 2024 election for a continuous operating levy of 7.5 mils for each $1 of taxable value. This is a tax of $213 for every $100,000 of Medina County auditor appraised property value, and would raise $14,412,000. If approved by the voters, the district will begin receiving collections in January of 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve action item K1.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Thank you, Ms. Pritchard. Any questions or comments from the board?
It's basically the same thing as the first one, right? First resolution.
This is the second piece that the board needs to approve in order to approve the ballot language that will be, the language that will be on the ballot in March.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you.
If I remember correctly, the first resolution was to get it, go to the county auditor for their approval, and then this goes to the Board of Elections to go on the ballot. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. If no other questions, Mr. Chambers, when you're ready.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know there's an executive session down here at the end of the agenda, but we are going to waive that since we have one at the top of the meeting. If there's nothing else, we'll call for
Can
adjourning.
I make my last motion
Of course.
to adjourn?
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Would anyone like to second?
I'll second that for
Second.
Mr. Ross.
Thank you, Mr. West. Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Mr. Ross? Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Safe travels and happy holidays.